Good morning, and thanks for joining us on the Friday edition of TVC Breakfast. I am Kemi Fola Adeyemo, and with me are Sam Mashe and Kelly Egiga. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning,
Good to see you. Thank God it's
Good morning,
Friday.
Sam.
We usually say, but no doubt, there's a lot still to talk about on the program. Nigeria, the current situation of Nigeria, and talking about terrorism. If we build up on our conversation yesterday, looking at the latest BBC documentary on the state of banditry, of course, that continues to be a major challenge for the Zamfara state government and other parts of that region. But now we understand that the federal government has said it will come down hard on BBC and even Daily Trust for giving, according to Minister of Information and Culture, a voice to the terrorists and making them movie stars.
I think that the least you can say about what the minister said is that it is ridiculous. Rather than go after the BBC, they should go after the terrorists.
Absolutely.
The terrorists have been there. A BBC man, well, he was not a BBC consultant, was able to reach the terrorists. Why have you, a government, not gone to meet the terrorists? So there was no glamorization of the terrorists. It was just revealing the failure of government. The failure of government to protect the innocent. The failure of government to round up the wicked. There was a story of one of them who abandoned arms and could not do anything to protect himself and had to go back because, why? Because they came after him. He should go into the place and try to stop the terrible narrative of Fulani and Hausas fighting each other in Zamfara State.
And other states as well.
And other states, but at least Zamfara State was highlighted there.
In the documentary.
He should go there. And then there was this unnecessary narrative of saying that the British government would not allow it. Are we working under British journalism or British codes? I don't understand. Nigerians want to see it. That is most important. In America, they won't do that. In America, you have the First Amendment. That's what is different between American journalism and British and sometimes European journalism, because sometimes the governments are cagey. The IRA, they didn't want a lot of IRA to be reported because it was a reflection of official failure on Downing Street.
Yeah.
So they should not come out and tell us that nonsense. The real thing they should tell us is we have an answer to this terrorism. We have go to the bushes and flush them out. If you cannot flush them out, don't say anything about anybody who reveals them.
Yes.
And if
It
I
is
recall,
ridiculous to talk like that.
I was just going to take it up from there. Look, Mr. Lai Mohammed, he had played down on the impeachment threats on Mr. President a few days ago. The same way he described the threats by bandits to kidnap Mr. President and the governor of Kaduna State, El-Rufai, as laughable. I think if there's anything that this administration should do is to be very sincere with itself. The general states of our national security, it looks like it's under very severe threat. We are talking about an attack on a checkpoint on Abuja-Kaduna Road. We have highlighted the state of insecurity, not just in the nation over the weeks, but right now, the center, the seat of power, looks like we are having very terrible security issues there. And it's the fact that when you look at the social media space, there have been a lot of videos trending of Mr. President just before he became president, how he had criticized the previous administration under the Goodluck Jonathan era or tenure. He had criticized the dollar, which was at that time about 170. But here we are today. Someone even said, look, it was 170 in Jonathan's tenure. It is now 700.
Took over.
It's not, right now, it's about 600 plus or even 710.
Yes.
So we have an exchange rate crisis as we speak right now. Some days back, we discussed how the Naira has been sinking. It's fallen down the drain over the years. There's aviation crisis. There's fuel crisis. And fuel scarcity and all of that is almost a shutdown of the nation and all of that. And if there's anything that our leaders, the political crop of leaders we have, must do, is to ensure that we are sincere with Nigerians. As the veteran has said, the focus should be on the issues.
Right.
Leave these people alone who are only trying to tell the story and what they saw on ground.
All right.
They didn't stay outside the country to do this report. We must mention
quickly
add on ground.
That in the interview we had with the consultant who also was the executive producer of that documentary, one of the takeaways that I picked up even before we realized that the federal government was going to respond the way it did was that all that they told them were by no way, that's the BBC team now, or the team that went out there, they by no way endorsed the illegalities, even though there were some issues about having some grievances against another ethnic group. But then I remember that he also said, Mr. Mukati also said that these grievances were even found to be unsubstantiated because several other regional groups in the country also had, similar claims of grievances. And if everyone now resorted to violence of that nature or even violence generally, it still wouldn't legitimize their reasons now to do what they did.
I made the point. I asked him that question about whether there was sympathy for these terrorists because of the issue that was raised by the person standing next to Alero, who was talking about grazing routes, the threat to
the routes have been destroyed,
Fulani life, and all of that. I said, well, this thing resonates with what even the Buhari's ministers were saying, and that doesn't mean that there was sympathy for it. Then he said these people were just exploiting those arguments for violence. That's also, it was cynical. The people were just cynical. They didn't believe in anything. They loved the money. They loved the money. And what did they love the money for? They're not buying private jets. They're not buying limousines.
You can't even see them living in
They're not living in palaces. They're living in huts.
He said drugs. The bulk of their money went into procuring drugs, even
guns.
sexually enhancing drugs, bikes. And of course, and weapons, guns of various. We keep seeing the terrorists, increasingly. We keep hearing about how, advanced their equipment are. The military, of course, you can also excuse the fact that some of these equipments could have been when they raided army barracks and the like. But, the fact that they have a steady supply of this arms.
I think we had mentioned as well yesterday in the newsroom when you and I and one of our colleagues were chatting that these three things are even outside the country: drugs,
sourced
guns,
not from within but outside.
The interesting thing is that
outside the country.
They are taking crude oil money to run a crude economy.
All right, we'll get some more time to talk about these issues. Obviously, the last hasn't been heard of them. In the meantime, let's bring some news reports at this time. Well, a few days after bandits attacked a unit of the Presidential Brigade Guards, killing at least 3 soldiers, there's been a reoccurrence at the Abuja-Kaduna Highway where suspected bandits stormed the Zuma Rock checkpoint, shooting sporadically. Although no casualty has been reported, eyewitnesses say the attack caused a serious gridlock where motorists were forced to abandon their vehicles and run for safety. Now, this attack comes days after schools in the Federal Capital Territory were shut down due to incessant attacks. Well, there seems to be hope that in the coming days, the spate of violent attacks across the country will be contained. But that can only happen if the National Security Council speeds up its new strategies to curtail the worsening insecurity in the country. On Thursday, the Security Council acknowledged that Nigerians are tired and now gravitating towards self-help. And with that in mind, the National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Munguno, says the federal government is relying on the assurances by the service chiefs, claiming that there will be a change in operational momentum. State House correspondent Femi Akonde has more.
Another Security Council meeting, which again reflects the mood of the nation and depicts a frightening security situation that for now has defied all solutions thrown at it. The outcome this time is an announcement that security agencies are working on a new strategy to deal with existing and emerging threats to national security.
the members of the armed forces have also made a commitment that in the coming weeks, they've already started working on a new strategy to deal with these snippets of violence. And they've given their word, their commitment to the president that there will be a change in momentum.
Data from the Nigeria Security Tracker, a project of the Council on Foreign Relations of the United States, reveals that activities of violent non-state actors had claimed more than 5,000 lives nationwide between January and June this year. At least 996 persons were violently killed in January, 765 in February, 1,214 in March, 917 in April, 594 in May, and 736 in June, totaling 5,222 in the first half of this year alone. It is at this Security Council meeting that new strategies to end the killings and violent crimes are conceived and a plan of action is developed. But to stop this escalating insecurity, the federal government insists it must be with the support of citizens.
In this type of asymmetric conflict is a collective effort. It's not something that should be confined to only the security, intelligence, and law enforcement agencies. When we keep saying whole of society approach, whole of government approach, to get a whole of nation approach, what it means is that everybody has to partake in this enterprise.
Already the security threat level in the federal capital has been raised, especially after the recent ambush of soldiers from the Presidential Guard Brigade. The Kuje jailbreak is another breach of national security that has left many questions unanswered.
Council is in the process of winding up the special investigative panel on the Kuje incident. And the idea is to come up with recommendations, hold those who are supposed to be held accountable for their deeds, and to ensure that this type of thing never, ever, ever happens again in this country.
The federal government also acknowledges that citizens are tired and gravitating towards self-help. It appears the federal government is also worried about how the media reports issues of insecurity and the effect it has on the population, especially as the events in recent days have impacted the approval rating of President Buhari's administration. But the president is in a race against time to turn the tide. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
In Ondo State, Governor Rotimi Akeredolu says Wednesday's shooting at the yard of the Kronberg Construction Company in our local government area was aimed at destroying some of the equipment and not to maim or kill anyone. The governor, who visited the construction site in company of heads of security agencies in the state, urged the people not to panic. And TVC News' Ayodeji Muradeyo reports.
Normalcy has returned to the ancient town of Owo in Ondo State after the attack on Kronberg Construction Company. The attack left 2 persons injured as residents continue to visit the scene to assess the extent of damage.
The people here are coming to witness, to see for themselves what actually happened.
Can't continue with this, and this is not acceptable. This is not acceptable. We must put an end to this. So we have to call on everybody. We have to come together, to work together, to put an end.
And they threw dynamite in the other one of our pedo loader, this thing, they spoiled the tire. So people were running scatter and scatter. So I run inside the toilet. Later we were shouting, shout, help, help outside.
The state governor, Rotimi Akeredolu, also visited the scene of the attack to see things for himself.
Once the workshop serve, they come there, we have the
Governor Akeredolu allayed the people's fear, saying the attack was not an attempt to kidnap. The governor assured the people of provision of adequate security across the state.
Clearly, what happened there yesterday night was not an attempt to kidnap anybody, because they went away with nobody. And we have in these premises over 100 people live there. Whereas there was sporadic gunshot to the wall, but they never went inside to kill anybody. It's better for everybody to know.
The state police command has also reacted to the attack with an assurance that the attackers will be brought to justice.
Command as a whole, we are calling for calm, that investigation has started concerning this issue, and we will get back to the public with our findings. We want to also urge our people to please, this is not the time for us to start peddling fake news. Please let us be calm. We will get back to you.
The two injured victims are responding to treatment at the Federal Medical Center, FMC Owo. The assurances from the police and the state government will go a long way in putting the minds of residents at rest. Ayodeji Moradeyo, TVC News, Owo.
And away from insecurity to judicial matters at the Federal Capital Territory, where Justice Adeyemi Ajayi of the High Court Abuja has admitted the former Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, to a bail in the sum of 5 billion naira. The court held that Mr. Idris must produce a permanent secretary and a director in any of the federal ministries as sureties. TVC News Judiciary correspondent Celestina Area has more.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission had on 22nd July arraigned the former Accountant General of the Federation alongside 2 others and a corporate entity on a 14-count charge of stealing and criminal breach of trust to the tune of 109 billion naira. The defendant pleaded not guilty to the charges. Justice Adeyemi ordered that the defendants be remanded at the Kuje Correctional Center pending the hearing of their bail application. At the resumed sitting, counsel to Mr. Idris Chris Uche prayed the court to admit the defendants to bail in liberal terms as the alleged offences are bailable. Opposing the bail application, counsel to the EFCC Rotimi Jacobs held that the court should look at the gravity of the alleged offences to refuse bail. Justice Ajayi subsequently adjourned the matter to 28 July for ruling on the bail application.
Bail is one of the preliminary stages you go through before you get into trial. So we have presented our application before the court, and the court has adjourned the matter for ruling.
Counsel representing the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Rotimi Jacob, while speaking with newsmen, said that the commission is ready to close its case within 1 week and it has 10 witnesses to call.
We have already given them notice of our witnesses. We have like 10 witnesses. And within 1 week, we should be able to close our case. That's why we are saying to the court that we are interested in the merit of the case. Let the Nigerians know what happened. So let the court know what we want to bring our witnesses to, so that we can expose our case to the court, so that the court can make a determination.
The former AGF was suspended without pay by the Minister of Finance. Celestina Area, TVC News, Abuja.
And while the federal government has flagged off cash grants to vulnerable groups in the country, starting with the Federal Capital Territory. And this is a part of government's efforts to address poverty, which is increasingly prevalent in Nigeria. Moyo Thomas has more.
The alarming poverty statistics in the country has called for an expansion of the National Social Investment Program. The government is now giving out a 20,000 naira grant to vulnerable people, 70% of which is reserved for women and 30% for youth. The arrangement indicates that at least 15% of the sum must be given to persons with disability. The implementation of these grants for the vulnerable group starts with the FCT.
We hope to see petty traders, peasant farmers, artisanal workers and other beneficiaries of this program, including people with disabilities, to prosper.
She admonishes beneficiaries to judiciously apply the grants as she gives out the funds. A total digitalization of the conditional cash transfer has also been completed. This will ensure financial inclusion. The process was also displayed for the minister. One of the beneficiaries, who says she roasts plantain and yam by the roadside, acknowledges that it will help her business.
Today, one of my social welfare women invite us. So I thank God for the money. And this money, it reached me to do small market.
The minister gives assurances on some concerns raised over the selection of beneficiaries.
In collaboration with the stakeholders, because as you are aware, we have to also engage the stakeholders because they are the ones that can actually identify this very special group of people. So working with them, and from what I have seen really, it is the deserving people that are here.
Over 12 million Nigerians have so far benefited from the National Social Investment Program in the last 5 years, according to the minister. Moya Thomas, TVC News, Abuja.
In other reports, scientists say human activities are the leading cause of rising global temperatures, as well as triggering extreme weather events witnessed in recent time. While this is a global concern, with developing countries most vulnerable to the climate crisis, experts say building resilience, climate action and adaptation are solutions that could save humanity from the brink of extinction. TVC News' Esther Omokbariola has more.
It's another rainy season, which is a good time for vegetation and water supply. But whenever there is a heavy downpour, the consequences are sometimes too great to bear. Communities are submerged, property and farmlands are destroyed. In northeastern Yobe State, thousands were left homeless after 2 days of heavy downpour, with authorities appealing for humanitarian aid.
We are appealing for Mr. President through the NEMA and the Minister of Interior Affairs to immediately come to the aid of your state government to alleviate the sufferance of these two local government areas.
Here in Lagos, flash floods have become a usual occurrence even before the peak of the rainy season. Bordered by the Atlantic Ocean, the coastal city is vulnerable to the impact of rising sea levels associated with the melting of the ice sheet and expansion of the ocean water. But poor drainage channels and waste management further worsens this environmental challenge.
Since it started raining, this road has been constant. It's just been like this, constant. Vehicles can come, customers can come. If you have to move, you have to either swim in the water or use rain boots. Nobody wants to come around the area.
Late last month, the Nigerian Meteorological Agency warned of heavy rainfall and possible flooding in most southern cities and advised residents to avoid low-lying areas. Some environmental experts attribute the heavy downpour as one of the signs of climate change, which the government must take seriously.
That the best we need to do is adaptation, strategies to adapt to the reality. Those regions where this flood, if it is from the coast, normally comes to interfere people upland. You can do some barriers that can help to break the wave of the rising sea.
We have to begin to prioritize the environment. We need to reframe our mindset around our current relationship, interaction with things that have to do with the environment.
Among other things, experts say energy transition from fossil fuels to renewables will reduce the greenhouse gas emissions that change the climate, causing floods. And adopting nature-based solutions such as tree planting, mangrove restoration along the coast and riverine cities may perhaps reduce the impact of floods in Nigeria. Esther Mopariola, TVC News, Lagos.
Thanks for staying with us. It's time now to look at stories making headlines on Nigerian newspapers. We have a couple of them with us here, and suffice to also say that some of them are a reflection of the current state of insecurity. Let's look at blueprints now, for example, and it says Nigeria in very difficult situation, citizens tired. That's according to the NSA, that's the National Security Advisor there. We heard a bit of his position, his latest position, and he's still also reflected here in this day, the next paper, to see military developing new strategies to curtail terrorism, says there will be renewed momentum against insecurity. That's, of course, according to Babagana Mongono. On leadership, still on the rise in insecurity, bombing terrorists, only way out. Bombing terrorists, only way out. Governor El Rufai of Kaduna states there, addressing the federal government. There are also further riders saying bandits ambush, kill soldiers at Zuma Rock as military declares Abuja safe. Claims killing 88 terrorists in Buhari and other areas within the FCT. Business Day is next. Insecurity crippling education, it says, and adds that insecurity is fueling migration as well. That's Business Day. To The Guardian now, still on the insecurity. Federal government admits failure as opposition insists on impeachment. NSA promises new strategies and seeks citizens' cooperation. Finally, with me is First News. PDP representatives join opposition leaders, opposition senators, impeachment plot against President Buhari. Of course, it was the Senate minority group, and now we understand that PDP lawmakers at the House of Reps are also joining in this impeachment bid against the president. Kelly.
Yes, and of course the nation actually stays with that as well, impeachment. APC moves to stop PDP lawmakers gang up. Kachuku, CD flee opposition senators, reps threats to move against Buhari. Well, that's the nation. The Punch has as its main streamer presidential primaries. Buhari's ex-minister asks court to disqualify Tinubu and Atiku. Interesting indeed. Wajuba falls APC and PDP primaries over. Statutory delegates vote buying, says former Lagos governor, ex-VP, bribed delegates with dollars. It's an interesting read. I'm not sure Wajuba was at the APC presidential primaries. I think he was absent. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. This Nigeria gets our attention next. Murder of 6-year-old Hanifa, proprietor accomplice to die by hanging. It's crime against humanity. Prosecutor counters plea for leniency. Another writer stays with the story, says Kano State Governor Ganduje waiting to sign death warrant. Such a huge and tragic loss, the death of 6-year-old Hanifa. Well, that's this Nigeria. And of course, we have the Daily Trust next. It states on Nigeria's economy, it says Naira depreciation takes toll on investors, worsens uncertainty. Naira depreciation takes a toll on investors, worsens uncertainty. This is a different twist to what Madam Minister of Finance is saying about the economy. The Nigerian News Director gets our attention next. It says revenue shortfall, outrage over FG's imposition of 5% excess duty on telecom services. Revenue shortfall, outrage over FG's imposition of 5% excise duty on telecom services. And finally, I have with me the national economy. And of course, it also states Nigeria's economy says foreign shipping firms surcharge Nigerian importers 94 billion naira in 2 years. Foreign shipping firms surcharge Nigerian importers 94 billion naira in 2 years. I wonder why I'm sticking with 95. That's the national economy.
All right, Kelly, you know, so much to talk about. And of course, the insecurity situation remains a good talking point. Good, but definitely leaving a bad aftertaste in one's mouth when you look at all the, you know, how hydra-headed this menace is. Of course, we can't talk enough about the implications on the common man, and now with the attention and people trying hard not to panic in Abuja. We spoke earlier about an attack on the military checkpoint around the Zuma Rock area. This along the Kaduna-Abuja highway. Reports say car owners had to, you know, leave their vehicles behind and scamper for safety. And of course, there was a crucial security meeting at the national level in Abuja on Thursday. And, you know, we've listened to Major General Babagana Monguno, who, well, he's talking about new strategies to curb insecurity. It comes at a time when on Wednesday the Senate also, you know, said in the minority group, of course, that they were working on plans to impeach the president. We had a guest on the news yesterday as well who said that now it has come to this, even though it is late in an arrival, but, you know, better late than ever, looking at, you know, everybody joining in the outrage.
Well, we are probably seeing the heat, you know, coming up to meet them at the center. At the center, it maybe because there was the mention of the president and Governor El-Rufai and so on and so forth. But they say the fruit of the pudding is in the eating. They say they have new strategies. We want to see what the strategy is. Those people have had strategies. Remember, they said that in the what they call it, the documentary, the BBC documentary showed that these people have counter-insurgency. Even though they are the insurgents, they have counter-insurgency policies.
Even among the communities.
Their own spies.
Right.
They have their own strategies. They have those telling them what is happening. They have weapons to counter. They have strategies to make money. Why our people are stealing the money that they are supposed to use to buy weapons and all of that? When there are questions about corruption and security, these people are using their money to buy rearms. They are buying motorcycles. They are paying people that are even getting turbaned in the place. They are getting legitimacy. So they need to get a real strategy, and they need to get it soon. They have talked of strategy for the past how many years. We have not seen any new strategy. The whole security meetings, it's almost like what Olarotimi did in one of his plays about talk shop. Our brother, our husband has gone mad again. So where people just start talking. It's all about talk shop. There's nothing going on in the family. You know, there's something we need to do. Concrete thing. Don't go and criticize a BBC thing. BBC has told its own story. You tell your own story so that we too can come and can go there and do documentary on how you flushed out Aleru, Dogogide, and all the terrible people in all the forests. Then we can tell your own story. You have our own heroes. Don't start complaining about other people's heroes. Don't complain about the hero of the bandits. Make your own heroes.
I mean, we can go on and on as people will still continue to look at the documentaries. People, there's still a lot of ignorance out there. There's still, you know, so many people who don't understand how a problem has grown to this level. I mean, this were called bandits, you know, just having at a point just random kidnappings, and now some security experts even say they have even grown worse than the terrorists and the Boko Haram guys themselves, because these people are so scattered. They don't seem to have like a collective organization, but then they still remain the dreaded ones. And looking at the government's stance against, people have also said, like, look at the time when they even went to suspend the state government in Zamfara State, suspended the traditional ruler who turbaned Ado Alero. Of course, the issue was he may have done what he did. We established at the point that it was even the local council of that traditional area that decided to turban him. It wasn't like
they have not
he
even,
asked.
They have not even unturbaned him. So he's still illegitimate. They've not even
suspended.
Oh, they suspended
he can be unsuspended. That's my point.
They suspended the man.
But
even the man, the Alero guy, is still the Fulani Saki Fulani. They have not dethroned him.
And of course, also begs the question of is that the answer? Is that the answer? Because even in the interview we had with Bukka T. Bulama yesterday, he said the sentiments that the local residents are more sympathetic to the terrorists is even is not even based on strong points, because like Sam said, they could be part of the terrorists, part of the bandits themselves.
Yes, I mean, it was interesting again to see the National Security Advisor speak to Nigerians and then try to ask that Nigerians should also take up the responsibility of supporting or contributing their quota to improving on the security of the nation. Look, I've said that the issue of trust or faith in the government or the administration is something, or even the security agents, is something that Nigerians have probably lost over the years. Look, if something happens to an average Nigerian right now, if a Nigerian says something going wrong and he's asked to, or he feels, look, should I go to a police station and report this thing? The average Nigerian would not think of going to the police station. The average Nigerian sees the policeman, for instance, with his in his regalia or attire or uniform or whatever, and has a different mindset of who that person is. You see an army man with his uniform, and there's a different misconception of who this person is because of the treatment, because of the relationship. So when the administration keeps calling on Nigerians to support the fight or contribute to improving insecurity, they must ensure that the trust and faith that Nigerians have lost over the years must be regained. But having said that, while we commend Mr. President for having an Emergency Security Council meeting yesterday, I think it's like the third in 1 month. It shows you how the situation has become very recently. While we commend him for having the Emergency Security meeting, because he was just back from, I think, Liberia or thereabouts, we also want to see Mr. President, as we see in developed climes, talk to Nigerians. We don't want to hear from the NSA. It wasn't the NSA that convinced Nigerians or spoke to Nigerians before he became president. He spoke to Nigerians about the desire, the dream he had to end insecurity in the country. So when we see this kind of attacks, we want Mr. President to speak to Nigerians, not from scripts, from his heart, to interface, to interact with Nigerians, to feel what Nigerians are going through. There was also a report of El-Rufai saying that he was the one that actually informed Mr. President that there's a threat by bandits and all of that. And then I was wondering, is it that Mr. President didn't see the viral video, or are there some persons...
Said the president wasn't aware
that there was a threat by bandits to kidnap him. So I'm wondering, is it that the people around him ensure that there are things that he gets to know and the things that he does not get to know? But also, linking this too with the state of our economy and all of that, Madam Minister too has also been trending on social media, where she all of a sudden has turned back to say, no, our economy is performing better under this particular administration than previous administration. Right. And Nigerians have been wondering, you told us a few days ago that we are broke. All of a sudden, we are performing better than previous administration, and we're buying fuel at 175 naira per litre for an oil-producing nation.
Is it even 175 right now? Because that might not even, reflect what Nigerians are having to go through. Because
the minister has to take a trip and go to one of the markets by herself.
We've said that the fact that some people may be having it good in some parts of the world, is of the country, doesn't reflect with how life is for other groups of Nigerians. We'll put a hold on this. We'll probably get some more time to banter on other issues.
The president doesn't know. How do you go and tell the president they want to kill you? They say they want to kill you. They don't even have the
guts to go and
tell him. Maybe they should send him a note. and put it under his bed.
Which will not
so
even
that wake
ease,
up and say, Mr. President,
with no one signing
they say that
it.
they want to kill you.
With no one
they don't know how to
signing
do it.
Oh,
It is how it shows. It doesn't happen to presidents alone. It happens to governors. People around them don't want to tell them anything. And then the people who tell them the truth are probably those who are foul.
A medical genius at the age of 22. She's also the 2022 best graduating student of the Howard University Medical School in the United States of America. And that's the story of Ondo State indigene Bobini Jones-Wani, who is blazing the trail in the field of medicine at the age of 14 and as a beneficiary of the Special Education Scholarship Program for Niger Delta students. Miss Jones-Wani was sent to the USA to study medicine and surgery. She graduated with a first-class degree in biological sciences in a record 3 years instead of 4 from the Miles College, Alabama. This at the age of 18 before proceeding to study medicine and surgery at the Howard University Medical School in Washington, D.C., finishing with a perfect CGPA of 4.0. And now the best graduating student of the Howard University Medical School, she has been admitted to the prestigious Harvard University Medical School for residency training in internal medicine. And she joins us now via Zoom, talking about the Howard medical genius and the medical resident at the Brigham Women's Hospital. Welcome, Bobini Jones-Wani. It's such a delight to have you join us on TVC Breakfast, and we all say congratulations to you for all your brilliant feats. How do you feel right now?
Thank you so much for having me. I can express how deeply, deeply, deeply grateful I am. It's really, really amazing. I honestly cannot believe it. I feel like I've been walking in a dream almost for the past few months. So I'm very thankful, and I am hoping to keep up the good work, as they say.
You have done very well, Bobini, is that how to pronounce your name? One of the things I've seen in your story, because even the Nation newspaper has done a very glowing editorial on you in the paper today. You can go online and see it. Is that your education was actually homegrown in Nigeria. What does that tell you about Nigeria's standard of education?
I think I'll begin this question by kind of detailing what my educational journey has been so far. So I started my education in Nigeria, as you stated. I went to Ilere-Ayo initially in Ondo State for the first few years of nursery / some primary school, and then went to Banki's private school in Abuja, where I did the first 3 years of primary school, I should say. Eventually, I wrote the common entrance exam early, thanks to my parents who believed that I would do well in it. And I started at Word of Faith, a group of schools in Abuja as well. And that's where I completed my education. So my thoughts about my education, at least the foundational point that I got in Nigeria, that it was quite excellent. I had people who truly, truly believed in the craft of teaching and were committed to the art of teaching and ensuring that we, the students, learned well. We also had people that went above and beyond in ensuring that we, the students, did well. I only remember one of my teachers from Word of Faith who would review my essays that I was using to practice for the WAEC examination. So I had gone to her, I was like, oh, I want to improve my letter writing / essay writing skills, the way they test you on the exam. And she was committed to it. I would come to her during our break time. She would review it and tell me what to improve on, just because she knew I went to do well in the WAEC. And she said, let me use my free time to help this girl. So at different points, the proprietress from my primary school, Mrs. Bankole, I truly am grateful to her, because she believed in education. She was pursuing it. So long story short, I would say that there are a number of people who are committed. People are committed to teaching the students in Nigeria. And there are many other factors that may contribute to different things, but I will say that Nigeria set a wonderful foundation for me. I cannot overstate my thanks.
Well, Bobini, I'm indeed amazed and, of course, stunned at just how exceptional you are doing and flying the colors of green, white, green outside Nigeria. But can I ask you, what are the lessons and takeaways for your generation, especially back here in Nigeria? What are the lessons for people who fall in that class of your age? You're only just 22. And I'm also going to ask as well, what exactly are the lessons as well for Nigeria, as well as the African continent, about where you are now, the environments where you are, and what it is back here?
Thank you for that question. So from my perspective, there are a number of things I've learned in these short 22 years. But even personally, and something that I think has helped me in different ways, is to always commit yourself to learning and learning things well. Because you never know when opportunity will come up, but you have to meet the opportunity prepared. So whenever there's a chance to do the thing that whatever craft it is, there are many ways to think about it. Is it biblical references where they say keep your oil ready and keep it burning, but always staying ready and ensuring that you are doing your best with whatever craft you are in so that opportunity will not pass you is one big thing. But speaking about opportunities in the first place, I would say that I don't believe I'm the most intelligent or the hardest worker. I do work hard. I work hard and try to improve myself day to day. But a lot of people are more intelligent than me. However, they also did not have the same opportunities I did. So that's one aspect that is quite unfortunate and is actually saddening about the situation in Nigeria, the lack of opportunities. People who are quite brilliant at their crafts just being blocked at different points. So I think that's one lesson and one thing we can work on as a country, perhaps, just to ensure that we are providing and paving ways, providing opportunities for people, paving the ways so that people can truly thrive and reach their fullest potential. And perhaps my comment about Africa as a whole is just to do the same, like provide this infrastructure, the opportunities for people to do their best, because people are working hard, but if they are faced with tall walls that they cannot surmount, how are they supposed to reach their fullest potential? So in summary, individually, keep up the good work, keep working hard, make sure you are ready for when opportunity comes knocking. But as a greater community, we need to create those opportunities in the first place.
Right. Your story even goes on to say that you did your common entrance in primary 3 when you were in primary 3, and you were still able to pass in flying colors. So looking down and trailing all, the several feats that you have recorded at such a wonderful period, such a short period, do you have a clear idea yet as to what you want to achieve? You've left Howard, you were one of the two from Howard, and now you're moving on to Harvard. So where are you headed? What do you hope to achieve at the end, to better the society?
Thank you so much for this question, because it's one of a vision for life, and frankly, I'm especially grateful for it, because that's something I try to work with, I should say. At this moment, I have some ideas on what I want to accomplish. So some of my interests are, one, the sickle cell anemia community, that's one for me, but also quite broadly healthcare access. So I'll touch on healthcare access first, and then go into my interest in working with patients with sickle cell anemia. First, as you know, I am from Akeredolu, Akeredolu local government. This is in Ondo State, but this is one of the riverine communities, the nine Delta communities we have. And one huge problem, apart from the myriad of problems that one can choose from, is the lack of access to healthcare. We are away from the land masses. These are communities that are near water. You have to use a boat to commune, and so on. So the problem then arises when people need emergent healthcare, they need emergent medical assistance, and they cannot reach it. So the infrastructure is lacking in terms of healthcare facilities available for that to happen. And frankly, even lack of physicians and healthcare professionals to assist with. So my future plan, my plan in general for to address this is to work with the federal and state governments, so most particularly the state governments, to ensure that we can actually establish these facilities, provide personnel that are going to staff it on a long-term basis. So there are many medical fairs that happen here and there, once a year perhaps, and the people get help. That was actually one of my first introductions to the healthcare system and the medical community in Nigeria, and I'm quite grateful for that opportunity. However, short-term assistance does not allow for long-term healthcare. And for many diseases where you need to make sure it doesn't turn chronic, or you have to have preventative medicine happen, it's really, really it's a disservice to the communities. So the idea is to have a system that can connect all of these communities together. There have been some that have been done in the past. So one that comes to mind is the Flying Doctor Scheme. It was established by Elder DiMario. He then was in Sabama local government in the Old River State. So that idea was to connect people, just as I said, provide equipment, provide medical personnel, and so on. So I say all of that to say that that is my current plan for my practice. But I also would like to say that I am also interested in hematology oncology. I hope to work with patients who have sickle cell anemia. I have some personal, I guess, family experiences, in the sense that one of my cousins passed away from the complications of the disease. So I'm really interested in working in that field as well. So to succinctly answer your question, I have ideas for healthcare access, but also to work even more in a more specialized fashion with patients who have sickle cell anemia.
Now, when a person goes through life and gets laurels like you have done, there are usually 1 or 2 or 3 heroes that you pass by. And can you name a few of them and what they did for you?
I think I missed part of the question. There was static. So if you don't mind repeating it, I really
No, I said that when you gain laurels in life like you have, you meet along the way some very impactful human beings who are your heroes or heroines. Can you name a few of them?
Oh, definitely. So my story and journey so far has been a lesson in blessing, God's favor, and really people that God has put in my life. There are so many of them. So many, I would say, even from my birth, so many of them. But to talk about a few of them, I would say first, really grateful for my parents. I'm so thankful for my family. I'm also especially thankful for the initial opportunity to come to the United States of America. I came under Honorable Kuku's administration with the Office of the Special Advisor to the government on Niger Delta. And then it was under President Goodluck Jonathan. And as time went on, I received assistance from Brigadier General Paul Boro, Professor Charles Dokubo, and now currently Colonel Dikio. And especially the fact that President Buhari has maintained the program, because that's truly been the way for a lot of my education to have been paid for. So those have been quite instrumental to ensure that I'm even able to get the education that I am on the other side of. So I'm really, really thankful for them. I would like to also thank my community. So the expression that says a village is who raises the child. I feel like people have been part of my village. I want to say even you for this opportunity to be interviewed, because I would have never expected that this would be the position I would be in on this date. So thank you for this opportunity. I'm really grateful to people like Governor Akeredolu because he congratulated me on a big platform, the governor of Ondo State, that is.
Yeah, so Bobini, the future looks really very bright. I wonder if you're conversant with the phrase here in Nigeria, small girl, big God.
Yes.
Are you?
Oh, if I should start telling my testimony here, I don't think we'll have time. But honestly, that has been the story at different points, to the point where even when things happen, I was actually talking with a friend about this recently. Whenever it's a moment of being in the valley, that is a moment where things don't seem to be going so well, I'm like, God has not failed me before. There have been many situations where it has been quite tricky and surprising how it happened, but we are here. So God has been really, really, really faithful, and I'm so thankful to Him. He's been amazing.
Yes. All right. So it's actually the Friday edition of our breakfast show, and we try to step down a bit and discuss other issues. So when you're not reading your books, your oncology books, hematology, pathology. What are your hobbies? What do you like doing extras as, things that just keep you going?
I appreciate that question. So one big thing that has been quite surprising to me is that I lift weights in the gym. So I quite enjoy doing that. I like pushing myself to lift heavier weights the next time I go in. So that has been quite relaxing. And it's great because it helps with my overall health. I also enjoy going to museums. I think it's a wealth of knowledge because people have preserved our history in different ways. So I enjoy exploring museums in the area in whatever city I get to go to. But I know you already mentioned the reading. I still read a lot of nonfiction on the side. I love escaping in a different environment, in a new society sometimes, just in a different world, and just stepping away from Earth, in quotes, and reading a good book.
Right. Do you have plans? So what are your plans for Nigeria? I think the Harvard program should be like how many years now? Is it 3 or more than? It's a postgraduate course kind of. So like when you reflect or when you have the chance to come to Nigeria, picking up on Kelly's earlier question, what do you do? Of course, you live in Ondo State. I don't know, but tell us some more about your favorite activities here in Nigeria.
Oh, in Nigeria particularly, I think Nigerian food is the best in the world, and I will argue with anybody that decides to do that, decides to argue about that. So enjoying the different meals is definitely one thing that I love to do. The music scene has been really impressive recently. I feel like I'm a personal manager of all of these Afrobeats artists. I'm really proud of them. So enjoying some music, enjoying the food, and really exploring some of the new buildings that are coming up. So I think that was the question, and those are some of my things I enjoy to do.
Even though I actually also wanted to know, because you've spoken about your plans for the future, as in where's the place of Nigeria in this? Do you see yourself, more relevant if you bring your ideas here?
Oh, definitely. So the plan I mentioned is truly a plan for the communities that have invested so much into me, whether it was financial, it was prayers. The Niger Delta communities have done so much for Bobini, and that's my plan. I would like to do this and create this initiative, have it on a long-term basis to allow for better healthcare access in those communities.
I would like you to reflect on some of the challenges you might have had since you've been in the United States. Can you reflect on some of them and how you tackle them or are tackling them?
Oh, definitely, because it's an ongoing battle indeed. I will say that one thing that has been a consistent thing is the sense of being away from home, away from the familial support. But I'm still very grateful to things like Zoom, WhatsApp, other video streaming services, because that's allowed me to connect with my family more frequently than I otherwise would have done. But that sense of isolation is definitely one that one has to deal with, because you have to create a new community and sometimes different backgrounds does not allow for you to connect with enough people, in a sense that you have to find the Nigerian community in whatever city you are in, and so on. So that was something that I actively had to work on. Apart from that, I think one big thing in the years was like some financial struggles. So at different points, I had to balance work and school to ensure that I was able to cover bills and so on. So those are those challenges, and truly it was God's faithfulness once again to allow for the balance to happen enough to be where I'm at this point. So those were the general challenges I faced.
So from all of us here, we say go, go, go. We are rooting for you all the way as you move on.
I wanted to ask you about your political interest, because you are also a student leader.
So I honestly tried to stay away from polarizing political conversations. However, I will say that I'm always on the side of people who are advocates for humans. Like, if you care about humans, if your platform is one that is for humanity, you care about healthcare, you care about just even education, because we need to educate our next generation, right? So if you're one that's for all of these, I'm for you as well. That's the way I consider my politics.
All right, Bobini Jones-Wadi, we thank you very much for speaking with us on TVC Breakfast. We can't wait to hear more and more of your success stories. We wish you all the best and congratulations.
Keep flying our colors.
Once again.
Nigerian colors, keep flying it high.
Right.
Thank you so much. This was an amazing time. I'm really grateful for this opportunity. And once again, I'm really grateful for my village. Thank you so much for this.
All right. Take care there. And thanks again.
Potiskum is one of the biggest cities in Yobe State, and it is well characterized with a business of every kind. Welcome to the commercial city in Yobe State. The city of Potiskum has a large standing reputation for its commercial activities. The city is largely populated due to the cosmopolitan nature and the people that venture into commerce. This is Potiskum Cattle Market. Potiskum is notable for having one of the largest cattle markets in West Africa. TVC News visited the long-decade cattle market in the ancient city of Potiskum in Yobe State. People from around Chad, Republic of Benin, Cameroon, Niger and others bring their livestock to sell at the Potiskum International Cattle Market. But this year, business has been slow, and cattle traders I spoke to believe it is due to the hardship economic times.
My customers are saying the rams and sheep is too cost because lack of money. Due to the reduce of salary of local government. Local government reduce salary of the workers. They are crying of this, so that we are not feeling happy like last year. Last year we did market is okay, but this year is not okay.
Some of customers are saying that they don't have we have no money for the buy cattle and some about because the local government and the state government does not pay the salary at the time.
I roved around the market to identify the biggest rams, but just got a few. This is one of the biggest rams in this cattle market. It is estimated about 250,000 naira. This man is the Serki Kasua of the cattle markets. He highlights some of the challenges they face, which most times slows down the business.
So daga Maiduguri, Abuja, kowa yana jin labarin Potiskum babban kasuwa ne. In ka zo kana so ka shigo sayan dabba babu hanya wanda zaka shigo. Ruwa inda zaran an yi ruwa sai ya katse hanyar da zaka shigo. Dole ne kana ji kana kallo sai dai ka wuce. To amma idan har gwamnati ta magance mana wannan matsala na ruwa da yake kasuwa mu da ke kwance a kasuwannin mu alhamdulillah.
In May 2012, unknown gunmen with explosives attacked the Potiskum cattle market and burnt it down, leaving a large number of people dead. The memories of the terrifying incident still lingers in the minds of cattle dealers, even 9 years after. They want government to intervene to avert such tragedy.
Our challenges is there is lack of securities. People are coming and stealing some rams and goat. So we need government to help us with the securities.
What we want the government to do us, we still need the security. Yes, by the time that people they are bringing their rams inside the market and the people that didn't enter, in order to come and buy their rams, we need the security.
In the year 2020, Yobe State Governor Mai Malabuni promised to construct a new modern cattle market in Potiskum in order to boost the revenue base of the local government and the state. But there is no indications about when construction will kick off. This Islamic cleric explains the significance of slaughtering of rams on Salah Day.
Prophet Sallallahu during his reign slaughtered 2 rams, and he said one is for him and his family, and the other one is for the rest of the Muslims who have not gotten the chance. So from that day till world end, it goes. So whoever is not able to slaughter, Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has already slaughtered it for him.
Potiskum Cattle Market, being the largest cattle market in sub-Saharan Africa, accommodates more than 3,000 livestock each market day. Michael Ushoma, TVC News, Potiskum, Yobe State.
From the first time I heard the story of Pastor Victor Basola, I thought to myself, how did one man get the vision to feed and provide basic education to children whose parents can't afford it? In about 10 months, Mr. Victor Basola and his wife have brought light and smiles to the faces of parents, children and teachers in Akute, Ogun State. When I met the man, the enthusiasm written on his face was evident. He is glad that his dream to reduce the number of out-of-school children is a reality.
But an exciting journey. Whenever I feel like giving up, whenever I will feel like giving up, when we see the level of impact in the lives of the students and the life of the parents, we get the motivation to move on despite the odds. It's not just free education, it's not just free books, it's not just 1 meal a day. We're now having to give the children free access to healthcare by virtue of the partnership with the wonderful hospital that God touched the heart of the director to give us free treatment. So apart from the fact that they are not paying for school fees, they're not paying for books, they're not paying for uniform, as long as they are students of this school, they will also not have to pay for medical treatment. With this kind of massive impact in the life of over 38 children and the life of the parents of these children, the feeling to give up when it comes, when we see the impact in their lives, we just have to but move ahead.
To fund this project, it uses income gotten from him and his wife's publishing business and donations from family and friends. 38 pupils of the Kingston Nursery and Primary School have escaped the streets. But they might be forced out of this building soon.
We were given a quick notice by the caretaker of the landlord that if we don't pay the balance of the rent by June ending, that he is under pressure to ask us to quit the property. The rent is 1.5 million for the entire facility, and we've paid 750,000 to balance 750,000. And the salary of the teachers is another huge task that we come up with every month. In fact, by the time the Basic 4 are promoted to Basic 5, there will be issue. Is that I will have to give up my own office, because by August, September, they will be promoted to Basic 5. There is currently no classroom for Basic 5 right now. So we need more space. We need support in every ramification right now.
Although payment of salaries to teachers and staff has been consistent, the recurring expenses are becoming difficult to meet up with.
When I heard about this program, being a free school, I just decided, in fact, our director did tell us that you have mind to join free school. This is a what if your salary, will you owe because of the salary? But we are very, very happy. And as a person, I'm very happy about the program because if I'm the rich type, I would love to do something like this. And I pray for those that are going to support us. Please, we need your support, we need your help, and we pray that the Lord will help you as to do so. If the school should close, that means the dreams of these young ones is at stake.
The way things are, I had to look for a job so that I can get salary to establish my work as a director engineer. So that's why I'm working here. Because if this thing stop, I no get another miss, and I no get another place where I dey see money, and I no want to go back to street. Man, just dey waka up and down. So that's just what I want to beg. I want to beg Nigerians to please support us on this vision.
The landlord says we should quit the facility, and like he has said, and he goes on with his threat, 38 children will be out of school, in addition to the 7 millions already out of school. 12 staff will lose their jobs, and close to 10 parents will go back to where they were before they were not able to take care of their children or send their children to school. I'm not sure I'll be able to handle the closure of this school. I'm not sure. Something just has to happen. Something must happen. The school cannot close. It's not possible. No, something must happen. It can't close. Either I'll vacate my house and move the children to my house. The school cannot close. I am just too sure. You want bread and yam? Okay.
Though it seems all hope is lost, he believes with the support of well-meaning Nigerians, these children will have no reason to be counted among the millions of out-of-school children in Nigeria. Sarah Ayeku, TVC News.
Thank you for staying with us on TVC Breakfast. And just like we usually do on Fridays, we bring some other kind of news items, and this time around, you can be assured of some more interesting feedback. And it's time to talk about Nigerian music legend, though in a slightly different pattern. Fela Anikulapo-Kuti held the world spellbound with his hit music and made waves for his ideals, as well as his non-conformity and radical character, all of which he portrayed in his music. And just as his music held the world spellbound, so did his very artistic album covers. A musical genius like Fela needed an artistic genius that could bring to life a visual representation of his lyrics. And that artistic genius that we have with us is Lemi Garioku, is renowned for providing many of the original cover images for the recordings of Fela, and once referred to as the king of covers by a UK magazine, The Observer Music. Lemi Garioku created and mastered over 20 of Fela's album covers. He joins us now to talk about his life's work, his present Nigerian music industry experience, and we also hope to hear from him about his perception about the growth of Afrobeat since the years of Fela. We bring to you now artist, illustrator, and designer Lemi Garioku. Welcome. It's good to see you. You look fabulous, by the way.
Thank you.
No, you don't look like Fela.
No, characters are different.
Well, tell us about that.
I met Fela in 1974. That's 48 years ago. We hit it off immediately because I believe I was made for the purpose, ready-made. The ideology of Pan-Africanism was what really binded us together. I totally was in sync with his philosophies. And so the relationship started. And like I love to say, in the beginning was the music. The music became so powerful, it needed an accompaniment. And my art came to play that role. So my art eventually ended up becoming a supplement to the music. It added value, it made the message clearer in a visual form, So yeah, it's interesting, and I feel very privileged to be alive today. I've been doing this for 50 years straight. I feel really excited about the times now, what the young people are doing, Afrobeats. I feel really very happy. Sometimes I look in the sky, I say, Fela, where you do? Come and see you,
But Fela didn't believe in going to the sky.
Oh,
He's believe that. That's an interesting part of Fela. You know, I read the book, the biography of Professor Ishe Sage, Professor Sage, SAN, the legal icon.
Yeah.
And he said, in the 60s, when Fela began, Fela was not singing this kind of music that he was singing.
Not at all.
He was more involved with high life and so on. In your own experience, how did Fela evolve? And what made him evolve? Did you track that? And did you reflect that in your art?
Yes. It's documented. It's well documented. Destiny called when Fela went to the US. You know, typically, you know, we all want to jackpot or something like that. So at a point, he was a bit frustrated with the high life. He wasn't getting enough impact. So he briefly moved to Ghana, then decided to go to the US on the tour, feeling like he was going to make a breakthrough, but he was disappointed. But the greatest thing that happened to him was he had this lady girlfriend, Sandra Isidore, she's still alive, who conscientized him, introduced him to Pan-African thinking, because the lady was a member of the Black Panther movement in that time. So she showed Fela some books to read, specifically, first and foremost, the autobiography of Malcolm X. After Fela read the book, Fela was actually playing one of his songs. Like you rightly said, during the high life days, just mundane lyrics. The song was titled Obe. So the lady was asking Fela, what's the meaning of this song? And Fela said, I can't eat soup without pepper. And the lady said, are you man enough? All the problems of black people in this world, you are singing about soup. Yeah. So Fela was challenged.
Like
yes. Just mundane lyrics.
Yes.
But it did appear, from what you have recounted about how Fela switched, basically, it did appear that maybe there was something in him that had long been buried, and maybe that one encounter just kind of, you know, made him snap, literally, somehow.
Yeah, exactly. That's like when I do my talk or workshops or talk to young people for guidance, I say, know thyself, find yourself. So at that point in time, Fela found himself through Sandra's connection.
He had an epiphany.
Yes, exactly. It's normal. You know, some of us have to go through that. Like, I had my own epiphany at 18 when I met Fela. All the things I've been doing all fell into place. I realized, okay, now, you know, I was conscious in 1966 when Millicent Small visited Nigeria on promotional tour by Cadbury Nigeria. I was a fan of Bombita already in 1966. And I was so much in love with Millicent Small's full album, My Boy Lollipop. So I thought she was a white lady. And when I saw her, I said in Yoruba to my aunt, I said, in your Dudu Nisha, I had race pride as young as I was.
So there was a connection.
Yes.
And okay, we see you didn't come alone. This must be a catalog of all your album covers, all the album covers you did for Fela. And what struck me, I should say, was, you know, the display. It wasn't just an array of colorful display. There was a message you passed across, which resonated largely with Fela's sentiments when composing the song and all that. I understand you also listened to the songs first before now capturing some of his sentiments onto the cover. But then there was a period where you both fell apart. Before we get to that point, just walk us through how you were able to connect with Fela through the works you created for him.
Yeah, like I was explaining earlier, my consciousness had been there all along. In 1969, I was conscious when Miriam Makeba relocated to the US, you know, on exile from South Africa, the apartheid government. And I used to watch Miriam's interviews where she talks about the situation of black people and white people in the world and so on. Then 1972, when George Jackson of the Solidar Brother fame, one of the Black Panther members was killed in San Quentin prison. I was conscious. I even cried when I was doing a drawing, you know, to memorialize him. So,
same 72, met Fela then?
Same 72, I met Fela.
Oh, great.
But I didn't know our destinies was going to cross. 2 years later, our destinies crossed. And the moment, we also shared a lot of books, readings. Fela loved to read, and I loved to read. We studied metaphysics together. at that point in time too. So I had the privilege to become so close to Fela. I became like a child to him, one of his best friends and his youngest advisor at that point in time. So I knew when he wanted to compose a song, I knew the impetus, I knew the nucleus of that particular song. So I was so privileged in that direction. So I witnessed everything. So after the recording, I already have in my mind how I was going to illustrate. And he gave me total freedom because I self-taught. So my style is very eclectic. So any mood that I find in a particular tune, I designed that way, and he never queried it. He gave me so much freedom. I even put my photograph on the album cover.
And he still endorsed it.
Yes,
he was still happy.
Yes.
He was still
So
happy with that.
the first cover I did was Alagmo Close, and that was the moment he became a revolutionary, the moment he faced the establishment head on.
All right. Lemme, you were talking earlier on about the first work you did for him, Alagmo Close.
That was the moment he took up that mantle, to face the establishment. Very revolutionary. And that was when I came in. And a writer in the UK had mentioned that it was a divine collaboration between me and Fela.
Do you have that here?
Unfortunately, I don't have it. There are so many.
Okay,
I did 26 when he was alive, and I've done 3 posthumous. That's 29. That's over half of his entire catalogue in his career.
Spanning through how many years now?
3 decades, 1974 to 93. So for 3 decades, I did those covers. So everywhere in the world now, Afrobeat is being studied. They talk about the music and also the art. It's a package.
And also the personality himself, the artist.
True.
Yes.
Now, you were always with Fela. For a lot of time, you were with him.
Yes.
You were not only doing a work of the music, but also something of your familiarity with his environment, with his lifestyle. Tell me those intimate things that people don't know that have also helped shape who Fela is, and also your artistic impression.
Fela was a very complex human being, but he was so talented. He was genius in many fields. For example, he was a very good human resource person because he had like 80 people living with him, and everyone has a role to play. He had like 40 girls in the house. That was interesting. It's very dramatic. So some of the girls were singers, some were dancers, some did the cooking, and some were DJs because they played music 24 hours in Calcutta. So then the boys too, some were electricians, plumbers, security personnel, and all that. And he had a court too, and he had a jail.
To hear
yes,
natural grievances will arise.
Yes, because he had to.
He was a dictator.
And not really.
He was a monarch.
Yeah, in a way, but he was a disciplinarian.
Right. Okay,
yeah, to hold those kind of people.
Some people can't reconcile Fela the iconoclast with Fela the disciplinarian. Can you reconcile that?
Yeah, I can.
How?
Because he needed that energy around him, and he needed to have order. Yeah, some semblance of order at least, even within the craziness and the extreme freedom. It's an irony. It's very complex.
Absolutely, because one would call him a free spirit, but then there was the need to
There was excessive freedom in Calcutta, but by the same token, he puts everyone in check.
Absolutely. So among your works, which tell us about, I think you have Sorrow, Tears and Blood?
Yes, Sorrow, Tears and Blood.
I recall that also had to do, and you clarified for me earlier, that this was the work that kind of reflected the pains his mother went through at the hands.
Actually, all the police brutality.
Not just on him, but
not only
members.
that. This particular song was inspired by the killings in Soweto.
In Soweto as
in
well,
1976, June 16. So that triggered him, and with all other items on brutality. So he came out with this song, Sorrow, Tears and Blood.
Right.
Yes. Right. This was Beast of No Nation. After he was incarcerated.
Nation.
So he came out from jail, and he was really vitriolic on this.
He was angry.
Very angry. this Kalakuta show, a typical police raid. You know, fella was like, it was like customer to police. Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Right, this is better.
Yeah, typical police raid. Beast of No Nation.
A bit to this side.
Okay.
Okay, back.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Sorrow, Tears and Blood.
Okay, great. Yeah. Okay, what other one do you have there?
We have Ikoyi Blindness.
Okay.
Ikoyi Blindness. Everything Scatter. So you can see how eclectic my style was.
How did this reflect on you know, commercial you know, acceptability? How did all this really you know, colorful reflection, how did it reflect?
Oh, the very interesting thing is, I was talking to a young man yesterday, and he reflected that his dad told him those days there was no musical videos. So what people did was they held the album cover and they're looking at the illustration and listening to the music and they're enjoying it. It's the visual for them, you know, because there was no musical videos then. So that's how deep it was.
And that's a stark reality now.
Well, I experienced that too, because when you heard when you were listening to the music, you're also holding the album.
Yeah,
that was
yes.
Many homes weren't complete without
and I put
you know,
lyrics
like
in
this.
there, lyrics and credits. All the musicians are mentioned. You know, the lyrics is there, so you read. And sometimes I created a column I call Designer's Comment. So I explain.
So giving you some form of freedom to also put in your thoughts.
I explain what is on illustration, because I didn't illustrate the lyrics literally. I illustrated from my own perspective, relating to what fella is saying. And because he trusted me so much, because we share the ideology in totality. So it became very effective that way.
You said you joined the fella team, so to speak, at the age of 18, and then, you know, of course, life continued, but then you were an integral part somewhat of, you know, fella's music career. Perhaps eventually a member of the household.
Movement. Yes, I was a member, founding member of Young African Pioneers, which was the youth political movement, because we wanted to start a youth vanguard, you know, to, you know, educate them in the right African history. Because the problem the African as a race has till today is the brainwash, the neo-colonialism, from colonialism, slavery to colonialism to neo-colonialism, and now self-colonization. So we still need to work on our psyche.
Well, that's also another element of, you know, vintage, you know, fella ideologies. But then at a point, you know, various accounts and reports would say both of you fell apart. Some say, perhaps maybe because you said fella had largely accepted all your works, and then maybe perhaps you guys had differences in desires, you not accurately reflecting what he wanted, or maybe you being heady. How do you describe, if you reminisce on those happenings?
Yeah, it makes me smile, even though sometimes I feel pain in my heart.
But what happened,
you know?
first off?
It's a natural human scenario. You know, it was like a love affair, because we were in love with each other so deeply. But it got to a point, ego started clashing. You know, I was becoming very powerful in my role.
You had grown.
Yes, and I did a cover, JJD, and fella rejected it. I was shocked, but I didn't agree with him.
And that's the first time that you would have a clash. Yes, the first time.
So, but you know, he was my master, so I couldn't say no to him. So he gave me a concept. He never gave me concept before. So I said, okay. So I worked on that concept for him, to please him. I showed him, he said, good. But inside me, I said, I'm not trashing my own. So I went to the managing director of Decca, the Oyinbo man, because I was that powerful in my role. So I went to him, I told him, we are doing a double sleeve. Even though it's a single album. He said, oh, but it's a single. He said, but I love, the double gatefold, it's beautiful. So he went to England to print. They used to print those days in rubber states in England. So about a couple of weeks back, and later, he got back, sent for me to come and see the print. And he said, lovely. I said, yeah, lovely, double. So he said, go and show it to fella. My heart skipped a beat. So I went, I said to fella, I showed him, I said, fella, this is your own. He was smiling. I just turned it back. I said, this is my own.
So that's double, front and back.
Yes,
okay,
without his permission.
And
you understand? Because
and his response?
He looked at me and went really angry. I said, you hit me below the belt. So I ran away. I didn't come back to Kalakuta that day, till the next day. So he had cooled down. So, but I knew He kept it somewhere. 2 years later, he had the opportunity. He rejected this Sorrow, Tears and Blood. And I was heartbroken. And I walked away.
But do you think that? Do you think you were right? I mean, he is the
originator.
He is the owner of the vision, and you are trying to subvert it.
Yeah, he is the owner of the vision, but the universe sent me to collaborate.
Which universe?
Eledumare.
Eledumare.
Yes.
Eledumare didn't tell him. If Eledumare sent you, should tell him too. He owns the vision. So you are a false prophet.
No. So okay. Now you know he rejected that cover in 1978.
Yeah. Did you keep that like you did?
I kept it for 32 years.
Okay.
32 years. I kept that.
So
cover.
he had his way at the time.
Yeah, at that time he used a different cover.
Not yours, or was it
no,
yours?
No, not mine.
Okay.
For 32 years, and I got it back on the cover after 32 years.
Okay. Then he was alive, or when he was
no, exactly. He was gone already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had.
So you are revenging the dead.
I've done what the universe sent me to do. Finish.
Okay, but then was there room for reconciliation, and did you?
Yes, there was reconciliation. 8 years
Did it eventually
later.
happen? Okay, yes, you were getting to that.
Yeah,
right?
8 years after we reconciled. After 8 years, so the other covers I did there and then we were under the auspices of Beko Ransome-Kuti, who was handling his business. You know, when he went to jail, Beko took over. So any music that is so important, Beko will send me a letter inviting me to come and listen. So it was a business relationship I had with Fela towards the end.
At that time.
Yes.
What is your sense of Fela's politics vis-a-vis his brothers? Because you are saying that Fela had an epiphany only when he went to the US.
Yeah.
But his mother was already political. His brothers, Beko,
Olikoye.
Beko and Olikoye, yes.
They were all political in their own
right,
sense.
right.
Why did he have to go to US to move from the profane to the political?
Political, they were all, but ideologically they were on different pedestal. Pan-Africanism is what Fela was fighting for. The brothers weren't fighting for.
No, but it's music. In music before then had nothing even political. It had nothing to do with political.
But that was we're talking about the epiphany.
Started saying, that's what I'm saying. That epiphany came.
Yeah.
Why did it have to come from outside when we thought that it was already there? With the family, with the mother was.
That's the problem of colonialism. The miseducation we've been going through for centuries. Right. It gets us confused as a human being, as a race. So he had to go to America, where he was taught to be African.
For that encounter.
Yes. And he said it too. He said he was in Nigeria, his own country. He didn't know how to be African.
And had been somewhat blind.
Yeah,
like many
so the mother
Nigerians
was already African. I mean, you read the history of the mother. The mother was a nationalist, was anti-imperialist, she was anti-establishment. She had everything. What was her relationship with her mother as you know it?
Yeah. It was very cordial, extremely so. The mother shared everything with him, the ideology in totality. For the fact that Fela changed the family name from Ransome-Kuti to Anikulapo Kuti in 1975. All the brothers refused, but the mother agreed and took up that name. So you know how
against
close
the
they
others.
were.
Amazing.
Because there was some time Fela called some of us to his what do you call it, to his room in the Ikeja.
Yeah, okay.
It was myself. I remember Dele Momodu, Ohi Alegbe, Bayo Nonuga, Femi Ojudu, and we're there. And it was to talk about something like an anniversary of his mother's death. We thought he had something to say. He really had nothing to say. No. We were saying, this is not the time for go. This is not guide for anything.
He venerated his mom.
Die.
Yeah.
He just wanted to vent.
Yeah.
That's what he wanted to do.
Yeah. He
shows how very
his
close he was to the mother.
Yeah, his mom is one of his saints.
Right. Okay, so in modern day, I understand you designed a cover for Files.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Do you have that here? And what does that say about your thing or your perception about Afrobeat musicians at this time? We have some people who profess to be self-professed to be Afrobeat artist, but is it how you see it? Is it how it's supposed to be? And why false?
Yeah, I think Afrobeats with the S, I totally agree with from inception, from the first time, although some purists were against that terminology, but growth has to come, elements of growth has to come. Reggae music has over 15 patterns, but it's still known as reggae. There is dancehall, there is raga. So this current pattern that is called Afrobeats tells to the fact that young people, generations have been inspired by the foundation that Fela and Anikulapo Kuti laid. So I'm totally in sync with this. I love it. And why Fowls? Fowls sought me out himself. Even though sometimes I feel like these young people, I wish, we could have a connect. But, I can't go begging anybody. So, but Fowls came and sought me out, and I felt really happy and proud to work with him for that moral instruction cover. And we created the record in a way because I designed 9 covers.
I have a feeling that Fowls came because of the father.
Well,
I don't know that. I don't have Femi Falana.
Yes.
Femi Falana is a very strong, if I even call rabid Fela fan.
Yeah, he was Fela's lawyer.
I recall.
He not only been his lawyer.
Yeah.
I went to Falana's, what do you do before you get married, that party?
Bachelor's Eve.
Bachelor's Eve.
Koji Koko.
Of course.
Koji Koko. That was the song that Fela Falana responded to that night. And he started jumping and dancing.
He went beyond lawyer client.
No, there was nothing like that.
Yeah, Fowls used to say that every day
was
driving to school, the father played only Fela in the car. Yeah,
so that was an influence, a strong influence.
And so, of course, we see so many musicians, talk about, how Fela influenced them in their present day work. But talking about revolutionizing, this craft. Are we there yet, looking at our content, the content that we hear now? How satisfied are you?
Yeah, that's where I have some reservations, the content, because I believe content is very important, especially our society needs a lot of directions. Philosophers need to play their role. Creatives are supposed to be philosophers, and they're supposed to reflect, a genuine creative reflects the environment. So the content is my issue. It's like 95% of the content is, it's very trivial. It's about a woman's body or, bling or fancy car or what you are drinking. But I love to see, conscious content that is, trying to bring in solutions, into problems of society.
Does it not mean that you're out of sync with the, you're out of sync with the new reality?
Right.
And also, I also want you to reflect the fact that we are going into a new medium. How do you reconcile your art with the new social medium, with the new internet, social, new technology?
I'm still doing covers. This year I did a cover for Newen Afrobeat, a Chile Afrobeat band. They are Oyibos. They play Afrobeat. I just finished a cover 3 weeks ago for a group called Yankari Afrobeat Collective. They are in Republic of Ireland. So I'm still doing covers, even though it's streaming age. There are still people who collect vinyl. The vinyl is having a resurgence in limited edition printer.
Right, okay.
Every album
in Nigeria
now.
Too?
Yes, even in Nigeria.
Great.
Yes. Even Burna Boy made vinyl. Asha made vinyl of her last LP. So I'm still on over 2,000 covers to my credit.
Fela made classic.
50 years.
That's Fela made classic.
Great. Timeless work is good.
Yes. I just did a cover, a book cover for a young man. Okay. He's a Nigerian. It's a book on poetry. And I was impressed. He insisted I have to do his cover. And I said, okay, let me do it. So it's a new product in the market. Right. It's just a small poetry book. The poem is about Nigeria, you know, right. Solutions and all that.
Oh, great.
So that's how far art can go.
Absolutely.
Fela will
yes.
never go. Himself said, Fela, you don't come again.
Yes.
You never
all
come
right.
again.
All right. Great place to rest our conversation at this time. Lemi Garioku, we really appreciate your time with us here on TVC Breakfast.
I really appreciate you inviting me.
We wish you the very best.
Yes.
Obviously, you're still in your element. So,
yes.
Right. Great.
We're right?
Right. No, this is Kemi. I'm Kemi.
Oh, sorry.
Kemi.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks again. We appreciate